Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the Reboot Work Festival from UiPath. And today is our greatest honor to have Shirley Liu on the line from Coca-Cola. And she is going to share with us her experience in her own automation journey. But most importantly, her experiences and the advices on how to work with robot. And she is going to share her wealth experiences with us today. So Shirley, thank you for joining us today.
Sure. It's my pleasure.
Great. And before we talk about robot, do you mind to share with us and talk about you a little bit first? So what do you do in Coca-Cola?
Sure. I'm the Vice President and CFO for Coca-Cola China, Korea, and Mongolia business unit. So one of the 20 business units globally in Coke system. And I've been in the system for about 15 years by now. And it's a great journey to be with the company so far.
Wow, 15 years. It's not a long time. It's not a short time, right?
Sure, of course. But given that we are in the FMCG business, so things has been moved so quickly in the market, not only from consumer perspective, but as well as the market industry, the innovation piece. So although it's 15 years, but feels like very quick.
Wow, then tell us, my first question that I would like to learn from you is, so after the 15 years, why is all in a sudden you started thinking to work with a robot? How did you start your automation journey to bring in robotic RPA into your operation?
Yeah, it's not, of course, all in a sudden. It's actually we planned or think about that for years. And the traditional finance, we always have a lot of Excel worksheets. We always have a lot of reporting and templates that we need to complete. So, but with all the development in the market and how can we utilize our data better to help the business to make the decisions. So not only the finance data, but also the non-finance data. So we think about the digitalization journey several years ago. And then we do it gradually, and also because of the technology has been developed so quickly, and robots came into our mind because I think historically the perception is that robots is meant for all those simple transactional based work, mainly for shared service center, for instance. But in Coke system, because I'm working in the business unit, and we have a lot of connection with our franchise ballers. And also, we do have our centralized shared service center handled separately for a lot of simplified, automated, transactional-based work. So whether the robots can help us at the BU environment or not, actually, internally, we do have a lot of debate before we launch the robots. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. You mentioned a few very important words: business, data, and transactions. So and last word it was debate. So do you mind to share with us? These are all very good ideas. And what exactly you've done to start the journey to turn the all these kind of great objectives or ideas into a reality? What steps have you taken?
Yeah. So actually, we do have several workshops before we really start the robot journey. So the workshop is between finance, IT, and our business team together to see what kind of processes we have and what kind of processes we want to improve in the future in order to fit for the new business needs. And during the whole process, re-engineering or redesigning what kind of roles that robots can play in between to help us to drive the transparency, the timeliness of the information, and the connection of the different data in the organization in order to give us a holistic view of the information for the business support and business decision process. So that's not an easy kind of thinking that, oh, let's do a robot in this area or in that area. Actually, it's coming from the whole team discussion and alignment to choose the areas that we can go with robots.
Thank you for sharing, Sherry. And it seems like that when you started the journey, it's not just to ask a robot to do exactly what a human being would do, but seems like you mentioned about workshops, a lot of discussion and alignment. So that seems to me is a lot of thinking needs to be put in before you actually automate your processes. Do you mind to share more with us?
Sure. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, because usually the robots only works in the majority of the robots work in the shared service center kind of environment for more accounts payable, accounts receivable, cash payment, those kind of environment. But that is not the area that we are interested in from business unit perspective. So as I mentioned, what we want to do is how to really digitalize the whole data and information in the organization in order for the better business decision making. So from that perspective, we need to re-engineer the whole process and also redesign the whole process in order to fit for future. It's not only for just to replace what we do currently. So that's the main reason behind. And robots is one of the tool to help us to achieve that goal. So from end-to-end process perspective, we need to understand where we are today, what we want to improve, and where we want to go tomorrow in order to fit for the goal that we want to have. So during the workshop, that's why we involve a lot of business team as well in the discussion to see how all those data, what we have today in the organization, how can those help them, and how can we achieve a timely collection of the different information from different systems. That's the main goal. So again, I think what we mentioned is to really better design the process to fit for future.
Wow, I'm very happy to hear that the robot will not only help to save money, save cost, but seems like in Coca-Cola, in your case, it can help you to generate revenue as well by providing better information for the business and increase the transparency.
Yeah, so that's one of the things, because for us, I think we never come from a cost saving target when we talk about robots. It's more how we can really support the business and how can we do the better process and better data sharing and transparency and utilize and maximize the utilization of the data in the organization in order to for us to grow the revenue at the very beginning, and then of course drive the productivity. So in the end, we can get more profit in our organization.
Wonderful. So now you shared with us your objective and also share a few best practices or some advices on how actually you design the process, re-engineering the process, so on and so forth. And so since you started working with the robot, if I ask you to share one special moment, one aha moment with us, that's the robot really to have done something great for your organization. What would be that moment in your mind?
Yeah. So again, I think people are the ones who design the robots, right? People are the ones who design the process. And the robots are the ones who can help us to achieve some of our target in between. So with that kind of mindset, and we started small. So although we think big, but we started small and then we scale up. So that's the process we have. And at the beginning, we choose a small area to start with in order to give everybody a kind of confidence and know how to work with robots during the journey, because we don't want to start at a very big item and in the end, we don't know, right? We don't know what we don't know. So from the very beginning, we choose an OPEX area, which is a relatively small area for us to distribute all those OPEX by function, by category spending type to the functional leaders or to the line managers or to whoever want to understand the OPEX situation in the organization. So because all the line items are coming from different systems again in the organization. So how we can collect all those data to be able to have the timely information to the whole organization. That's the starting point. And then we know that robots can not only do like debit or credit, but also do the email distribution, do the ones that the people really ask them to do, right? So how to work with the robots, we can understand. Then we move it to a more complex area, which is talking about the inventory management, talking about the BU data, linking with the baller data, talking about the unit case volume, linking with our concentrate shipment, et cetera, et cetera. From that angle, because there's more business stakeholders involved, actually it's different legal entity, ballers and BU are two very different organizations. And how can we have our own information together with baller information and the unit case information, the consumer data and the customer data all together in one data hub. And again, we have the timely information in order for us to make the business decision. So, I mean, we just started. That's a journey that we just started. And I think we will grow up with the robots together. So we will have a lot more ideas coming into the organization to see how we can work with robots, as if robots is one of our employees, right? To deliver the target we want to have.
Yeah, actually, by listening to your sharing, I got a feeling that is the robot is just like an employee. When a new staff comes in, you give some simple task to train them on the simple things. And once the skills become mature, and then the staff can actually handle more and more complex and bigger things, cross-organization, cross-business unit. So I can feel that you are training your robot just like they're training a staff.
Yeah, the good thing is that robot can work 24 hours, 7 days, right? We need to maximize the utilization of the robots as well, for sure. But I'm sure there are a lot of areas, a lot more areas that we can utilize robots to help our entire organization, and also not only the finance, but also, for instance, like our PACL marketing, right? As one of the consumer company, we do need to collect a lot of consumer information and consumer feedback through different websites or through different tools and systems. And I'm sure robots can help us to collect all those informations for us. Instead of currently we utilize whether agency or our own employees or some other tools. So there are a lot of, I think, areas that we can think about and we can dream about to help the overall organization.
Yeah, dreaming is a very good thing to do, and I hope that the robot will be part of your dream. So last but not the least, so on top of all the things you've shared with us today already, do you have any last advice or any other best practices that you can share with the audiences based on your own journey in Coca-Cola?
Yeah, I think I would like to share the things I talk with my own team, because a lot of people will be afraid of the job being taken over by robots, right? That's human nature when they see robots coming into the organization. But if you think about from another angle, people's mindset definitely or the energy is definitely much more compared to the robots, right? Robots need to be designed by human beings and need to be managed by human beings. And then human can do much more value added job on top of what robots can do to us. So to us, it's a kind of learn, unlearn, and relearn journey to understand and learn how to work with robots. And for us, the whole team members can do a lot more value-added job instead of just collecting the information and do the Excel worksheet, data crunching, and those can be replaced by robots. And we will use our experiences and knowledge and see all those reports and to help the organization to think through how we can do more innovative ideas of how we can achieve more revenue growth in the organization. So there are actually a lot more room and opening for the careers, not only in finance, but also outside of finance team to help you grow. So I think for any change, we need to have an open-minded and just go and do it and hug it, and we will find all the other ways to achieve our value as one of the value creator in the organization.
Well, Shelley, although you share with us that your role in Coca-Cola is a chief finance officer, but based on your sharing, I can feel that you are a business person and professional in marketing, in change management, and also in technology. So I think the cultural change is important, and with an inspirational leader like you is one of the key success factor for embracing the change and bringing the robot into any organization. So and your sharing is wonderful, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, and we will continuously grow with the robots.